Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will continue with our discussion on Śrī Īśopaniṣad. So far we have discussed until mantra 3. So today we'll resume our discussion with mantra 4. So this, unlike the previous mantras which were in Anushtup Chanda, this is in Trishtup Chanda, which essentially is 4 lines of 11 syllables each. Anejadekam manaso javiyo nena devapnuvan purvam marshat tadhavato jnanatteti tishtat tasminnapo matrishva dadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. So with this we begin a new section of the Īśopaniṣad. So the first 3 mantras were talking about how to live in harmony with Krishna. The first mantra talked about the position of Krishna. The second, which is Ishavāsyam, was how to live in this knowledge about the position of Krishna. And the third was the opposite, the consequences of one who does not live in that knowledge. Now, these 5 mantras from 4 to 8 are essentially the vision of a Maha Bhagavat. So mantras 4 and 5 will describe the greatness of Krishna. Mantras 6 and 7 will describe his omnipresence, that he resides in the soul of all beings. And mantra 8 is actually similar to mantra 4, but the description of the Lord is more poetic. In mantra 4 it is more Upanadeshik. Mantra 8 it's more in the mode of spontaneous glorification of the Lord. And then the subsequent sections about the Vidya and the worship of the Lord. Right? So today we are covering mantra 4. So from invocation to mantra 3, the focus was on Sambandh Gyan, understanding the position of Krishna, understanding our position, and how best to relate to Krishna. The second mantra, it declares a major theme. So if you remember, the second mantra was working with the knowledge about the position of Krishna. And mantra 3 makes the same point in opposite. Right? So it calls those who work without the knowledge of Krishna as the killers of the soul. So essentially that's what the Īśopaniṣad is about. It is talking about 2 kinds of people. People who are aware of Krishna's supremacy and people who are not, the consequences of this and the nature of these 2 different kinds of people. Okay. So 4 to 8 is establishing a spiritual vision to understand Krishna. In mantra 1, he was established by his position as the owner of everything. Everything belongs to him. Then one may say that, but tell me a little bit more about him. So mantras 4 and 8 actually answer that question. So 4 and 5 talk about his natural greatness and his inconceivability. Right? And 6 to 7 talk about that how to progress in developing a spiritual vision. Right? In 6 to 7, the focus is practicing a spiritual vision in a material environment. So before we can actually develop a spiritual vision to see Krishna, we actually begin to practice seeing everything around us from a spiritual perspective. So instead of seeing the jivas as people, we see them as spirit souls. Instead of seeing events as happenings, we see them as a desire of Krishna. So this way we are flexing our spiritual muscles. And 8 again is the description of the Lord by one who is now more spiritually evolved. So a summary explanation. So as I mentioned that this is an Upanishadic description of the Lord. In the verse 8 we will see a more poetic Puranic description. So the Lord is described as Anejat, which means that he is Anejat literally means not trembling and is fearless, and each of these adjectives we will study a little deeper. So this is a summary. So his Anejat means that he is fearless, not trembling. He is Eka, there is nobody equal to him. He is unique, he is supreme. Then Naina Deva Apnuvan. He cannot be understood by the Devas, which means that he is superior to the Devas. Then Purva Marshad. Purva Marshad means that the curtain that covers the Lord is a one-way curtain. It's not a two-way curtain. That if one says that if the Devas can't understand the Lord, does it mean that the Lord cannot understand the Devas? No, it's a one-way curtain. While it is opaque to the Devas, it is transparent to the Lord. He can see everything, he knows everything, Purva Marshad, right from the beginning of time, which means all the time, every time. Right? Then, because his power is inconceivable and he is all-pervading, he surpasses all while remaining in one place, though they pursue him. Tasminapa matrishva dadati. Right? So dadati means that even though they may pursue him, he is beyond everything. Essentially what it means is he is not accessible by material means. He can only reveal himself. One cannot access him. So this is a verse for the Jnanis who are coming to the platform of knowledge. So these are the 8 qualities of the Lord that are described in this mantra. Anejat, fearless. Ekam, supreme. Then Manosajaviya, that is swifter than the mind. Nainad Deva Apnuvan, that is beyond the Devas. Purva Marshad, omniscient. Then Tadhavata Anyan Atyatitishta, that while remaining in one place, he overcomes all others running. Right. So 2 qualities are derived from this. One is that he is inconceivable. That how can one be at one place and still be running after and overcoming others? It is inconceivable. And the second is omnipresent. That means he is also at one place and he is also along with everybody. Then Tasminapa Matrishva Dadati, that he is the source of all the actions. That literally it means he supplies the gods who control wind and rain. Right? And because by the combination of wind and rain, all the actions manifest, he is considered to be the source of all actions. So these are the 8 qualities of the Lord that are described in this mantra. The Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, he covers 3 themes. So first he talks about the process of approaching the Lord in paragraphs 1, 2, 4 and 5, where he says that the absolute truth, or it's summarized, that the absolute truth cannot be understood by speculation but only by revelation. So a Jnani cannot say that now I am an expert in the Vedas, so I understand the Lord. Or the yogi cannot say that now I can travel at the speed of mind, so I can reach the Lord. Right? Or a karmi cannot say that now I have achieved sufficient piety to attain the Lord. Maybe they are qualities that attract the mercy of the Lord, but ultimately it's by the Lord's mercy that He reveals Himself. Right? And this point is actually the theme of the last 4 mantras of the Upanishad, where the devotee, after having established his own qualifications to approach the Lord, then says that despite everything, you reserve the light not to show me. So then he begs the Lord that please reveal yourself to me. In the third paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about God and His energies, right? And this is Srila Prabhupada explaining the apparent contradiction between the Lord's description, that He is at one place but He is everywhere. And this Prabhupada explains by talking about the Lord and His energies. And then the role of the jiva. The role of the jiva, essentially the perfection of the jiva, is to play the assigned role and the mercy will descend. Right? How does one qualify oneself to receive the mercy? So now we'll drill a little deeper. So firstly, the mantra, it talks about the personal form of the Lord. Right? So it says Dhavati means that He runs. Now energy cannot run. Right? A person has to run. Then Apnuvan Purvam, that it can be approached in the front. So when you say that somebody has a front, it means that somebody has a back, a side, which means that the person has a form. When you say that somebody is running, that means the person has legs, right? And Anejadekam, that is standing in one place. So when you say that that person is standing in one place, it means that it is a person there. In Mantra 8, he is described as Manasi, the greatest of the philosophers. Right? So by this we can understand the Lord has a personal form and He has a mind. So just like we have a form and a mind, the Lord has one. Right? So He is like us, or more appropriately, we are like Him. Right? So in Christianity, they have this saying that the Lord created the humans in His image. Right? So that also is one can understand is relevant over here. So sometimes people think that we're giving the Lord a form, we are projecting ourselves on the Lord. That just because we have hands and legs, we say that the Supreme Lord has hands and legs, right? But actually it's the opposite. That because the Lord has hands and legs, we have hands and legs. So there are two important words in the mantra. Ekam means one and Anyan means others, right? Which is mutually contradictory. That there is one and there is others. And the way we understand it is that the one refers to the Lord and the others refer to the jivas. So there is only one Lord, but there is infinite jivas. And this is explained in the Katha Upanishad. Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse very often. Nitya Nitya Nam Chetanas Chetana Nam Ekubano Bahunam Yo Vedadati Kama. It appears in the Katha Upanishad 2-13. So Nitya is Nitya Nams. So amongst those that are eternal, there is one that is also eternal. Chetanas Chetana Nam. That amongst those who are conscious, there is one who is conscious. So now the first line is talking about the similarity of the Lord and the jivas. The jivas are nitya, the Lord is nitya. The jivas are chetan, conscious, the Lord is called. The second line talks about the difference. Eko bahunam yo vidatati kaman. But that one is fulfilling the desires of all the others, supplying all the necessities of the others. Right? So that is the relationship between the one and the many. So the many are fully dependent on the one. The jivas are fully dependent on the uh, Lord. So this is opposing the theory of monism that there is only one Brahman. Right? Because when you say that eko bahunam, that there is one and there is many, then you are making that distinction. And the Brahman says that everything is one. So this clearly contradicts also the notion of the impersonal Brahman. Right? So in this mantra, the Lord's personal form is glorified, and it also contradicts the impersonal form of the Lord. Now the Lord does have an impersonal form, but it is dependent on his personal form. So let's look a little bit at the different qualities. We remember in the first, second, third slide, we talked about the 8 qualities of the Lord. So talk a little bit more about them. So anejat literally means not trembling, right? So it means that he is fixed. So what does it mean fixed? That he is fixed in his abode, right? So in the Brahma Samhita 537 it is said that Goloka namne nijadhamne tale chatasya devi mahesha haridamishu teshu teshu tete prabhava nichaya vetish chayena govindamadi purusham tamamana, right? Goloka namne nijadhamne. So just like we have a house, Krishna has his house, right? And he lives there in that house. So that is where he is fixed in his abode. Then the difference is his potency. And so by his potency, he maintains everything. His powers are incomprehensible and infinite. So Aneja also means that he is completely unmoved. So the first meaning was that he is fixed in his abode. Second meaning is that he is unmoved. So unmoved means that there is so many things that are happening around the Lord. The universes are being created, maintained, and destroyed. The jivas are falling down from the spiritual world, going back to the spiritual world. Within the material world, they are constantly taking birth and dying. But all this does not affect him. So it does not mean that he is incapable of feeling emotions. Right? So Krishna is Rasuraj, that he is the king of emotions. But when it says it does not affect him, it means that it does not impact his consciousness. So it's like two people may be in the or let's in Mahabharata we have the example of when Arjun found out that Abhimanyu was killed, then it affected him because he was angry, he was sorrowful, he was crying. But it also did not affect him because he simply continued in his service to Krishna. Right? So being unaffected does not mean the person becomes like a robot. I don't feel anything, I don't care about anything. So Krishna is actually very empathic, kind, compassionate. All the feelings that we have, Krishna has them in infinity, but it does not cover him. He does not get bewildered when he sees the jivas repeatedly falling into the material world. Then the third meaning of Anejat is that is fixed in his dharma. Right? So in the Vedas he is known as Asamardhava, that there is no one similar to him and there is no one higher than him. Like no one can challenge him and he is the shelter of all. So this is the quality of one who is completely fixed in his dharma. Then Anijat also means not trembling, which means the Lord is fearless, but he is feared by everyone. Right? So it's said that everyone fears death, but death personified fears the Lord. And it is also said that because fear is under the control of the Lord, He is the only one that can take away the fear. Right? One of the Lord's name is Bhayahari. Bhayahari means that one who takes away the fear. That is because He Himself is anejad. That He Himself is without fear, and He is also the controller of fear. So when His devotees approach Him, He then instructs fear. Leave. Devotees and the devotees become fearless. Then Manasa Javiyo. So Manasa Javiyo means that is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. Right? So there is the more direct meaning of it, which means that, and Prabhupada talks about both aspects. The more direct meaning of it is that if somebody has a race with Krishna, right, and the race starts, then the person tells Krishna, "You are anejat, you're fixed, you're not moving," and then the person runs. But then he reaches the finish line, and Krishna is there. So then he asks Krishna, "How did you come over here? Because you're anejat, you're supposed to be not moving." And then Krishna smiles and says, "I did not come to the finish line, I was always at the finish line." So Krishna is at the start line and he's at the finish line. So extrapolating that, what we understand is Krishna is here, he is there, he is everywhere, which means that Krishna is omnipresent there. That is why Krishna is Manasa Javiyo, that the mind is just used as, so in the material realm, the mind is the fastest. They say that the light is fast, so light is more in the gross, but faster than the speed of light is mind. One is sitting at one point, and within no time the person is somewhere else, right? So that is the speed of mind. So it's used as an index. So the fastest thing is the speed of mind, and Krishna is faster than that. Why? Because he's already there everywhere. Right? So the second way to understand this Manasa Javiyo is that Krishna cannot be approached by gross material energy. Like one cannot say that I will now travel at the speed of mind and reach Krishna, because Krishna is not accessible by any material endeavor. Right? So Prabhupada quotes Brahma Samhita's Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam, and there he says that Lord Brahma says that Krishna is inaccessible to the Vedas. Right? So one way of understanding that he cannot be approached by the mind, it means that he is beyond the grasp of the Gyanis. So the Gyanis do all this mental gymnastics in order to bring various things in their control. By their mind, they're able to understand how matter works, or they may understand how other jivas work. But all the gymnastics of the mind, even if it is applied to the study of the Vedas, is not going to deliver the jiva to Krishna. And so Brahma says that you're inaccessible to the Vedas but obtained by bhakti. The second aspect of this also means that the yogis who can travel the universe at the speed of the mind. And so this is the very next verse. Pantastu koti satavatsara samprakamya vayorathapi manaso munipungavano. Right. So the yogis, because they develop these mystic powers, they can travel the universe by the mind, but even they cannot approach the Lord. So the conclusion is that the Manasa Javiyo gives us two understandings. One is that the Lord is everywhere, And the second is that he cannot be approached by any mechanical means. He can only be approached by bhakti. Mechanical means he cannot be approached by gyan, by yoga, by austerities, by any mechanical means, but only by bhakti. So then it is said Nainan Deva Apnuvan. So Nainan Deva Apnuvan means that he cannot be approached by the devas, right? So this is establishing the relationship between the Lord and the devas. So Prabhupada quotes 10.2 where Krishna says that neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. And even Brahma, who is the highest intelligence of the material world, he himself in the Bhagavatam, he says, I cannot understand you. In the 10th canto, we see how Krishna bewilders in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, how he bewilders Brahma, because Brahma was very proud of his intelligence, and effortlessly Krishna bewilders him. So the reason that he cannot be approached by the devas is because he is the source of the devas. Right? Prabhupada further says that the Lord of the devas, and he is the origin of the sense power, which means that our own senses can only approach the Lord when they are empowered by the Lord. So in the Chaturshloki verses of the Gita, Krishna says that that to those who are constantly devoted to me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. Then he says, I dwelling in their hearts destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So when a devotee is making advancements, and advancement is a process, that even when we make a little bit of advancement, we can understand it is because of Krishna's mercy descending to us from within. Then the mantra says that Matrishva Dadati. Matrishva Dadati means that he controls those who supply the air and rain. So one way of understanding it is that this is representing Vayu and Indra, who are the demigods of air and rain. And the acharyas say that it also means that everything in this universe is being enacted through a combination of air and water. Right? So, for instance, one's very life airs in the jiva or in every living entity, it is a function of the air. So one can understand that it doesn't just mean that he controls all the demigods, because that point's been made, Nana Deva Apnuvan. It also means that everything that is happening in this universe, all the actions that are being done by the living entities in this universe are controlled by the Lord, so they should be offered to the Lord. And the acharyas, and again, these are Upanishadic verses, mantras, so they are also able to derive more meanings by looking at the words a little differently. So if you combine Tasmin Apo Matrisha, it means that within him are the gods that control wind and rain. Right, same point, that he is the origin of all the devas. So Srila Prabhupada then tries to explain to us that how do we understand this simultaneous localized feature, that the Lord is fixed in his abode, and then his all-pervasive feature also, that he is everywhere, he is omnipresent, He's controlling everybody. So there is all these things that are happening in the universe. And the Lord says, I'm situated at one place. How do we reconcile it? And Prabhupada explained the reconciliation is by understanding the Lord and His energies, right? So while the mantra says that the Lord is a person, it also says that He has inconceivable energies, right? And the typical analogy that is used is that of the fire. That if you light a fire, then there is that one place that you can say this is where the fire is burning. But you cannot say that there is this one place where the light and the heat of the fire is being experienced. That spreads all over. That is all pervasive. So the fire is the source of the energy and the heat and the light are the energy. So similarly, the Lord is situated at one place, but by His energy, He is pervading everywhere. All the universes, all the material existence, all the spiritual existence. So that's how we reconcile. But the energies of the Lord, they do not have any independent existence. So there are the philosophers, the Gyanis, who get so enamored by the energies of the Lord that they forget the energetic. They just look at the energies of the Lord creating this universe. So the scientists, they are only fascinated by the material energies of the Lord. The yogis are fascinated by the subtle energies of the Lord. Right? But they sometimes forget that whenever there is energy, there has to be an energetic. So generally, so Lord has infinite energies, but they're classified into three categories: the Bhairangi Shakti, the Tathastha Shakti, and the Antarangini Shakti. So by the Bhairangi Shakti, he supports the material world. By the Antarangini Shakti, he supports the spiritual world. And by the Tathastha Shakti, the marginal energy, he supports the jivas. So the jivas are considered to be tathast because they can either come under the antarangini or the bahirangini. So the conditioned jivas come under the material energy and the liberated jivas come under the spiritual energy. So Krishna is known as Yogeshwara. Yogeshwara means the master of the mystics, because of this way that he orchestrates everything. So think about it in a way that there is a person who's sitting in a room, in a chair, but then at the same time, he's controlling the whole universe. And so that is the bewildering part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That he has many energies. So even though we say there are three categories, but he has innumerable energies by which he is manifesting the spiritual world, the material world. He's creating different desires. He's creating the impetus to act, and all this is happening while he is playing in Vrindavan. Right? So by understanding this concept of the energy and the energetic, and the fact that the energy is completely dependent on the energetic, one can very easily understand this apparent contradiction in the Īśopaniṣad. Right? When it says he's at one place but he's everywhere. Now we can understand he's one place as the energetic, as the person, and he's everywhere as his all-pervasive energy. Right? Now we can easily reconcile those contradictions. So the mantra has presented Krishna in this mystical terms, right, with these 8 qualities. And the question is that how to understand Krishna. He has already said that he cannot be approached by the Gyanis, he cannot be approached by the yogis, cannot be approached by austerities. Right? So the underlying point is that one should approach Krishna in the mood of a devotee. So be a part, not apart. Right? So be a part means that uh, uh, we should not feel disheartened. So when we see that Krishna is this mystical, uh, incomprehensible personality, then the jiva might feel that I'm small and insignificant. So that there is no way that I can approach Krishna. Right? So this is being burdened by one's own humility. Right? So Prabhupada, he writes a wonderful purport here, saying that while that is true, that Krishna is infinite and we are infinitesimal, but we should also be aware of the fact that when these infinitesimal parts are empowered by the infinite, then they become qualified to approach the infinite. And which is another way of saying that when one receives the mercy of Krishna, one is able to approach Krishna. Right? And how does one approach the mercy of Krishna? Prabhupada says that when a person properly utilizes his initiative, active nature, intelligence in order to revive his original consciousness. And so the Lord has given us the facilities by which we can act to attract his mercy. So when we act in a way that the Lord wants us to act, then his mercy descends on us. Right? So that's how we become a part and not apart. So we become a part of Krishna's grand plan. Krishna has something meant for us to do, which is execute devotional service. When we align our desires to that of Krishna, then we become qualified to approach the infinite. So all power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord cannot be known by one who can only be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potency, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. Prabhupada said these matters are described in further details in the Bhagavad Gita. Right? So essentially what we are saying is that the Lord reveals himself, but we have to be qualified to accept that revelation. So a more general look at how revelations work. So the revelations are not uncertain comprehensions. Right? So this is how the impersonalists work. Right? They have vague descriptions of the Brahman. That the Brahman is where there is nothing. So rather than describing the Brahman, they describe what the Brahman is not. The Brahman is not changing, the Brahman is not agitating, the Brahman is not heterogeneous. So they have this neti, right? It's like I go to a person and say, can you describe your friend? And you can say, he said, my friend is not tall, he's not short also, he's not fat, he does not have black hair, does not have white hair. So these are very difficult, vague descriptions, right? So revelations do not work by these uncertain comprehensions. Then they are what is known as certain incomprehension. So uncertain comprehension is partial understanding. Certain incomprehension is when a person with confidence tells something that is not there. So this is how the Abrahamic religions, so Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they openly say that we can never know God. Right? So if you see that their mood is not so much to be God-centered, their mood is more to be centered around people. They're basically mode of goodness. So their mode is to do the right thing, to do service, not to tell lies, not to steal, not to kill. So while there is God there somewhere, and generally referred to as in general terms, but they stay clear of describing the Lord, and they say, "Don't worry about it." Right? We cannot understand Lord. No? So this is also not how revelations work. Like somebody says that I want to know about God, and so you can never know God. So revelations work actually by gradual revelation through increasing devotional dedication. So this is the mood of a devotee. That it's not a blinding light and everybody or somebody suddenly understands everything and says, now I know God. Right? This is a thing that is experienced more and more every moment as one executes devotional service. The analogy is that uh, a child wants to touch the head of the elephant, and the child might jump and jump and jump, but he can never touch the head of the elephant. But yet, he can touch the head of the elephant if the elephant sits down. Then, even though the elephant is much taller than the child, the elephant makes itself accessible to the child. So, similarly, when the devotees they practice their devotional service, the Lord reveals Himself more and more. Right? So, it's not an event; it's a process. Right? It's not that one day the devotee gets up and says, "Okay, I chanted 16 rounds. Now I can see Krishna." But every mantra that he chants, he can see a little bit more of Krishna. Right? So the example is that one may sit and watch the sunrise. Right? So the person may be sitting from the time that it is dark till the time that it is daylight. Right? Now he can say that I saw the sunrise, and then somebody might ask him, when did the sun rise? So there's no particular point of time. He actually witnessed a million sunrises, because every time the sun rose a little bit more. But at the end, he is now in complete light. So similarly, as the devotees practice, every moment they see a little bit more of Krishna. Right? And it's difficult to say that on Tuesday, January 15th, I saw the light. Right? Those are just humbug, they're vague. The reality is that the process is so gradual that sometimes it even bewilders the devotees. The devotee says, I've been practicing bhakti for such a long time, I'm not making progress. But yes, you are making progress, but it is so gradual that we have to step back to see it. So, a little bit more for practicing devotees, that in order to become qualified to understand the Lord, service is the best way, especially service to the Vaishnavas. So there are two ways that we learn a language. This is just understanding analogy. One is through analysis, which is decomposing, and the other is through synthesis, which is consolidating. Right? So, for instance, the child learns the language simply by hearing. So the child is simply synthesizing. Right? An adult learns by decomposing. So they will first learn the vocabulary. This word means this. Then they will learn grammar, how these words come together, and then they start learning the language. Right? So this is the more analytical way. For devotees, the process is initially synthesis. Then they come in the association with other devotees. They start absorbing the process of bhakti, and then it is strengthened by analysis. It's done by the systematic study of the scriptures. So by a combination of this analysis and synthesis, the devotees begin to render devotional service. Prabhupada says that devotional service should have three categories, three criterias, or three characteristics. It should be individual, Right? So the nature of bhakti that is good for me may be not good for somebody else. Somebody might like book distribution, somebody might like deity worship. So it is individual, voluntary. That it should not is an expression of love. You cannot force love, right? And spontaneous. That one should have the desire to do it. So the example is that there was this devotee in London called Bhakti Peter, and when Srila Prabhupada once visited London, then all these devotees, they were disciples of Prabhupada, they were standing in front of him and they were saying what they did as a service to him. I distributed so many books, I helped in making so many life members or devotees, etc. So he was quietly watching, and then later went to Prabhupada and he says that actually I don't think I'm meant to be here because I haven't done anything. That I see these people going out and distributing books or going to the streets and doing Harinam, and I'm not able to do it. So maybe I'm in the wrong place. And Prabhupada essentially then told him, which is summarized in these three criteria as individual, voluntary, and spontaneous. Prabhupada said that that's their service. You need to find a service that works for you. Right? And that message took place in his heart. So then he looked for a service that inspired him, right? And then he saw that these clay mridangas that were coming from India, they would break very easily, either during transport or during use, they would break. So then he experimented, and then he was the one who actually manufactured the fiberglass mridangas, which are to this day they are known. Later on he was initiated as Harinamanand Das. So the conclusion is that Krishna is impossible to understand as he is full of contradictions, and the only way that we can understand Krishna is by a submissive service attitude which attracts the mercy of Krishna. So perfect knowledge means knowing that the Lord is a person and he has his energies that are acting on his will. Okay? So this is the conclusion of mantra 4. So we'll end over here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanande. Thank you very much.